Coming up on this episode of the Elite Recruiter Podcast.
There are so many people right now that think that marketing is putting up a pretty social media graphic and just thinking that, boom, everybody's going to apply now. Everybody's going to want to work with you. It doesn't work like that.
Welcome to the Elite Recruiter Podcast with your host, Benjamin Mena, where we focus on what it takes to win in the recruiting game. We cover it all from sales, marketing, mindset, money, leadership, and placements.
I am so excited about this episode of the Elite Recruiter Podcast. The reason why I'm excited is because many of us just fall into recruiting. Like, this isn't like a career that many of us got out of college. It's like, I want to become a recruiter. No, we landed in this wonderful world of misfits. But here's the cool thing is, you can still be in the recruiting world, but there's so many other hats and so many other careers within the recruiting space that you could take. And my guest, Danielle Byfuglien, is here to talk about her journey, her story. We're also going to talk about relationship marketing. We're going to talk about digital marketing, but I'm just so excited because every now and then I get somebody that reaches out to me that they're like, I'm tired of recruiting, but I love the industry. What else can I do? And that is exactly why Danielle is here to talk and share. So Danielle, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. And way to nail it on my last name. I'm so proud of you. Yes. And your introduction, I think my head got bigger and bigger where I'm like, keep going, keep going. But that's exactly, you've provided such a great space for people that love staffing and love recruiting and love talking about it to be like, Benjamin, I have stuff to talk about. Let me on your show.
I really just, with this podcast, it's kind of like what I needed at that 3-month mark when they almost let me go. The information that I needed, the people to reach out to, the people to look up to. So, Absolutely. But excited to have you on. And real quick, before we dive into your story, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now.
What am I doing now? Oh my gosh, let me sit up for this one. So I work for ClearEdge, and ClearEdge is the premier marketing service for the staffing industry. We have 3 different divisions. We do marketing, we do leadership development, and then we also have a recruiting for marketing division. So, I look at all 3 of those, and it's basically like I landed with a company that speaks my love language. We talk about marketing for staffing. We talk about building people up, like looking at where they are today and where they want to be tomorrow, or helping them network within the staffing industry. And then if we're working with a staffing company and they're like, we really love your marketing services, but we want to take it in-house, we will then step back and help them find the right fit for their company. We will literally recruit for them. So it's literally all the hats at the same time. And I get to go and I get to cold call all day long. And so everybody that I used to work with, I used to host Go to Market Monday, and where I'd be talking to salespeople about it's easy to connect with people. It's easy to cold call. I will just tell you all right now, I was so full of it and I'm so sorry. It is fun work. It is challenging work, but it is absolutely never easy because, you're literally put on the spot of why does this person want to talk to you? But yeah, that is where I am today. Basically a vendor to the staffing world. I get to literally just go through and just call all my friends all day. If you see a 218 number coming through and you're like, who is this? Answer the phone. It's me.
That's epic. So this is kind of is a perfect walk into how'd you end up in recruiting?
How did I end up in recruiting? You know what? And every time I tell this story, I'm like, oh, this needs to be like a better elevator pitch. But truly at the end of the day, I dropped out of nursing school. Went back to school because I was actually running a rehabilitation service center before that, like your physical therapy, your occupational therapy, speech therapy, all of that. I was the person that kept the day rolling. And I went back to nursing school and quickly learned that I was president of the LPN club. So I know I've always been a people connector. But when it comes to helping somebody, I truly want to help you. But if there's an emergency, I need an adult. And I am not the one that's going to jump in and stop any wounds or anything like that. I'm like, oh, let's go figure this out for you. So anyways, I saw a position open and it was running a simulation center, which is where you're performing duties very similar to those that you perform on the plant floor. It's all in light industrial in the greatest power sports company in the world. We won't name names. You can guess it. Go on my LinkedIn and find it. So I went in there. I kind of didn't take it serious, to be honest. I just looked at it as a stepping stone into my next career move. I started on a Monday, and by that Friday, I was so this is who I'm meant to be. Like now that I understand what recruiters do, connect people, and it's not just filling an order. It's not just placing somebody in a role. It's literally changing lives. It's giving people vacations. It's helping them buy their homes. And once you get them in a role, not just to leave them there as a recruiter, I mean, if you knew me for life, and these people are still connected to me, where I put you in a role and then I would always check back because I always, like I would look at your background and say, okay, this person, yep, they can do the clutching, they can do the A-arms, they can do whatever they were supposed to be doing on the line. But do you know that they also have a project management background? Like, let's get them into planning. Let's get them into something else. Or if they don't have a background like that, once they know that product so well, where else can you place them? And truly with staffing professionals, whether it is on the marketing side or on the recruiting side, you become, if you're really good at this, you become the business partner that your clients need, where they will rely on you for business decisions to say, you brought these people in, you know them the best. Where do you think they should go next? Or if this isn't working out, what are steps that we can take to get them placed in another position that will work out even better for them?
You literally, in 1 week, you fell in love with recruiting.
Obsessed with it. I'm still obsessed with it to this day. I know I'm in sales and I know I'm in marketing, but at the heart of it, at the end of the day, if you are in the recruiting space and if you've even become the CEO of your company, ultimately we are all recruiters at the end. We're all here to talk people into what we need them to do and where we think that they should land. But absolutely, it took me 1 week and I drank the Kool-Aid. I was in it to win it. And still to this day, like running a desk and talking people into, hey, I think that like skill-based marketing to say, Benjamin, I think that you're really good at your podcast. You know that there's a open position with this radio show. You should probably go and talk to them. You know what I mean? Like doing those kind of connections, and it's asking those questions and getting to know them. And that all goes back to, again, relationship marketing. And that's truly how I got into marketing, is the way that I positioned myself as a recruiter. I had no idea for those 6 years, everything I was doing was marketing.
And we're going to go into like relationship marketing. We're going to go into digital marketing, all that stuff. But like during that time that you were a recruiter, you 6 years, like working the desk, smiling, dialing, all that fun stuff. Did you start wanting to do something different?
You know what? I used to think that there was something wrong with me, of like, why am I always looking for next? Like, why am I never just okay with, I know how to do my job and I know how to do it well. I know what my niche is. They say your riches are in the niches, and, just focus on this and keep building this. But I was always reaching for next. What's next? What's new? What's trending? I was going Facebook Live before anybody was. And still to this day, I can be in the grocery store. And if I have my phone out, people are like, are you live? And I'm like, no, I'm literally looking at a recipe. Like, I'm not always live. I kind of am when it's big events. But anyways, with that, I was always searching for that next and that new, and started networking around my company as well. And then that's when I actually fell into a book club, and which opened the door to even more, because I'm in the most northern part of Minnesota. So I literally live where there are no people. But getting back to like when you were...
All right, no, stop. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, we'll go back to that in a second. Like, okay, your career changed because of a book club.
Yes, absolutely. Networking inside my company. My boss said she was too busy to be on the book club for 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And I was like, please let me join. Please let me join. And she was like, we don't have time to be doing this. And I was like, I will make time, because I needed to know more people in my company. Am I allowed to name drop? Can I say where I was? Okay.
Yeah, if you want to.
Okay, I was working for EmployBridge, and they used to have a really great book club where they literally combined all of us around the country from different branches. And every week we would meet, and you had your chapter that you were in charge of, and you talked to other branch managers, other area vice presidents. It was a whole cohort of different people in the organization. And it could be anybody that had just started to somebody that has been with the company for 20 years. And as you can imagine, Benjamin, I have a really hard time staying quiet.
Really?
Surprise. And from there, it was starting that conversation. And week after week, it would be like I was the only one talking. or getting the conversation going or calling out and saying, oh, Benjamin, didn't you have chapter 7? Like, that's next week. Are you excited to do it? Do you want to talk through it or anything? And it opened the door from there, where the next book club, when that came around, I was asked to be a facilitator on it because I had that ability to get people talking.
And then how did that turn into like you going into marketing? Like, were you kind of doubting where you were going to go? Were you getting tired of running the desk? Were you?
Yeah. Well, and where I was, I thought that that's as high as I could go. I thought, like, I'm in northern Minnesota. All of our branches are all around the country. I can't do anything else. And they actually came to me and they were like, how do you feel about being a remote recruiter? And I was like, whoa, I can't go remote. Like, I thrive off of people. Like, that sounds like the worst idea ever invented, to go remote. Like, absolutely not. And my fiance and I had the conversation, and he gave me the best life advice. He said, like, looking at the two of like staying in the role that I was in and I was crushing it, or taking this chance and opening up a door that I was afraid of. And he said, which one are you afraid of? And I said, afraid of the unknown, afraid of this remote recruiting. I didn't even like know what that was at the time or like what it could do. And he said, I think you should try it. And I'm like, I think you're insane. Slept on it and woke up and said, I think I should try it. Went into remote recruiting. And I mean, from northern Minnesota, I was doing everything online already. I mean, like, how the world works now is how I was working 6 years ago. Like, I mean, 5 years ago. Not a mathlete. Nobody quote me on these time frames. But it was pre-pandemic, where, I mean, that's what I tell people. Like, I was working from home before it was cool, and I was doing everything. I was doing the onlines. I was, reaching out and making those connections. I was doing the relationship marketing before I even knew that that was even a thing. That got me into remote recruiting, where I was recruiting around, like I said, the tip that goes into Canada, that's me. When I say I'm in the most northern part, like, I'm where there are no people. So I've got a lot of time to internet. I was recruiting around Dallas, around Atlanta, around Chicago, a lot around Chicago. And so it's even funnier because, like, I've still remained those connections. Like, I mean, I still have really great virtual friends that I never actually knew. That got the attention of learning experience design, where they were like, hey, you're really good at like talking to people and communicating, and you've got these really big ideas that kind of nobody else is really putting into place yet. Like, everybody is still just following their templates and following, this is our guideline. I was like the rogue recruiter that went, well, nobody's really watching me, so I'm just going to do what I want. But yet I was doing everything online, so truly everybody was watching. And then that got the attention from the marketing department. And I'm going to call her out, Melissa Phillips. She's with BGSF now. She's their chief digital officer. She's amazing. She had went over to Adecco and started tapping me on the shoulder saying, you need to come to marketing. And I was like, ew, I don't even know what marketing does. Like, I'm a recruiter. Like, this is who I am at my soul. I'm going to be an executive recruiter. I'm going to be CEO one day. Like, I've got goals. I don't want to go into marketing. And I was like, I don't even know what marketing does. And I mean, like, for 6 months, we would literally jump on a call almost monthly, or she'd send me a message. And now looking back, I'm like, oh, I totally get like the move she was doing. I mean, like, she is a salesperson at the end of the day too, where she was just nurturing that relationship. And I learned so much from her of what marketing is, what marketing does, and truly like that relationship marketing, that influencer marketing. In the 80s and 90s, they'd say ABC, always be closing. But today it's ABC, always be connecting. I mean, we are inundated with so much information that, I mean, we truly have to always be creating content and always staying top of mind. So, I mean, like, if you look at my LinkedIn, and I've had people in my inbox, like, what exactly do you do? Because, like, I come off very much as a recruiter, but that's because, like, I think at the end of the day, everybody in staffing, whether you're in marketing, whether you're in sales, you are a recruiter at the end of the day.
You mentioned something real quick about always being connecting.
Yeah.
So you see like these these LinkedIn influencers or recruiting influencers or the people that it feels like they've been doing this forever. But what if you're a recruiter working at a staffing agency and you're seeing this stuff? Like, why should I always be connecting?
Because we are so inundated with information all the time that, I mean, if you're not making those connections and sharing relevant information, sharing the valuetainment, as the key phrase is, that might be a trending word right now. And if it's not, let's totally make it trending. But the valuetainment is always be connecting, because people I'm just going to be really blatant with it. People might forget who you are. So, I mean, you literally have to keep your name relevant. You have to let them know how you are going to help them. You have to keep the lights on, basically. Even if you don't have an open role, even if you aren't seeking them out to place them in a role, to keep that connection. And those are the kind of connections. I mean, I don't mean go fill up their inbox every chance you get. Don't spam them with emails. But the ABC, the always be connecting as a recruiter, is the liking their content, the commenting on their content. I mean, Benjamin, you and I had that whole conversation over AI versus machine learning, right? You had a great call out. And I think that's what like had first bonded us, where I was like, aren't we already in the AI world? Like, what recruiter isn't using it? I think your message was like, where is this magic AI that everybody's talking about? Like, am I mistaken? Do you remember that?
No, it was like you always see like these articles about this ATS magical AI.
Yes,
and I'm like,
yes, that's what it was.
I'm like, I haven't seen it yet. Like, where's this AI selecting these people?
Yes, exactly. Anyways, getting back to your, I'm going to get way off topic, but getting back to your why recruiters should ABC always be connecting, because they need to keep themselves relevant. Because job seekers, this day and age, I mean, like it's shifted now, but I mean, when we had so many job openings, people weren't searching for jobs like they are today. Like the recruiter has a full plate right now of people saying, find me a job, or help me skill-based market myself out. And we need more recruiters that are doing that are literally taking the time to meet with people to understand where they want to go next and how to get them there. And with staffing companies, you can have all of your marketing in place so that they know your name before they're calling you. So you can warm that lead up. So when I'm calling the Elite Recruiter podcast, I know exactly who I'm calling, and I know that they can help me find my next job. I don't know if that's truly what you do, but I know you're going to know somebody that knows somebody. And that's where the ABC for recruiters or for salespeople comes in, is keeping the lights on and keeping yourself relevant and keeping yourself out in the open so they know that they can contact you.
Well, let me ask you a question, one more step on this before we jump over to something else. Like, if you're working at a staffing company, is it the staffing company's job to do this, or is it you as the recruiter's job to be doing this?
I think it goes two ways. I, of course, am always going to push brand marketing for the company, getting the brand out there for the company so people know that ClearEdge is a marketing company. For example, ClearEdge is also a leadership development company. ClearEdge is also a recruiting for marketers company. But having that name out there and knowing that they are a connector, that they understand that. But when it comes to personal branding, I think it is absolutely the recruiter's responsibility to get themselves out there and differentiate themselves. Nobody wants to be working with just a cookie cutter robot. And that's where I was going to say, like, I'm going to end up veering off and telling you, like, not AI all the time. Like, robots are not coming to steal our jobs. AI is coming to help us do it better, do it faster, meet with people that we need to, but really helping us have that time to meet with people where they are, to get to know their stories, to know them as people. I mean, if you're sitting in a branch and you have people coming in, one of my biggest pet peeves when I would be out remote recruiting is when you get recruiters that were like, nope, you brought your kid in with you, you have to reschedule. Where I'm like, and you're only doing just a face-to-face interview? Like, we're a staffing agency. Don't make them reschedule. Like, make it work. Like, and then they can figure it out as we go. I'm not saying we're like suddenly a daycare provider or anything like that. And I mean, for executive recruiters, it's probably a different space. But I mean, if you're getting somebody in that needs a job and you have those jobs open, when I was working where I was, they were like, oh, I don't have a babysitter right now today to do that interview. And I'm like, no problem. Bring them in. They can hang out in the office with us. like it's, I mean, your competitor is not your competitor. Your competitor is time. In the staffing world, like, I know you're worried about, you know, what is the pay rate over here? What is so-and-so doing over here? But time is your biggest competitor at the moment.
Does relationship marketing and digital marketing look different for staffing versus contingency versus executive search?
Oh, I don't think so at all. That is a really good question, though. And now, after we get off this call, I'm totally going to look that up. But off the top of my head, I want to say no, because if you're an executive recruiter, if you are a gig worker recruiter, if you are a temp to hire recruiter, like that kind of relationship marketing, like, I just want to know what's in it for me. I just want to know if I'm your target audience, the relationship marketing that I want to build is how are you going to get me money? How are you going to make my life different? Like, at the end of the day, like, how are you going to pay for my kids' snowmobile racing because of this amazing job you've just offered me?
Snowmobile racing, what's that?
We do it on water and on snow. That's another subject.
Well, okay. So let me ask you a question on this. Like, we see, like, there's so many people talking about marketing right now. There's so many people talking about like content and this and that. And there's stuff that looks cool. Yeah. Sounds cool, but has zero return outside of a few likes. What is actually working versus what just looks cool?
Yes. So that is a great question. Like, you might have a really awesome brand, but if you're not going anywhere with it, if you're not doing anything with it, if you've got this beautiful blog that solves all world problems and it literally just sits on your outdated website, that is where you're literally shooting yourself in the foot. It might look cool, but it's not going anywhere. You have to have an updated website and you need to have video content. That is what the algorithm lives and breathes right now. And having an updated website means that it's ADA compliant, that it's on the right PHP. And I'm going to totally go off the rails and say the wrong thing here because I am not the website expert, but we definitely have one. I'll connect you with a website expert. If you're looking at your website and you're going, my website isn't converting. Your website is literally your 24/7 employee. They are doing the work for you if your website is up to date. And
wait, so people can get leads from their website?
Yes. Oh, wait, say that again. Say it louder for the back row.
So, like, do people actually
get lead generation from your website? Yes.
How?
Well, you have to have the right marketing. We have to have a strategy. What is your end goal? So everything we do at Clear Edge, and actually I'm going to quote my favorite quote from the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership that actually, like, when I was looking at your questions for this podcast and I was thinking through, like, what's the story I want to tell? I had this aha moment where I was like, this book is literally what landed me in this podcast was, and I've got it written down here, anyone can steer the ship, but it takes the right leader to steer the course or to plan out the course. You need a strategy first. You can't just say, I want a new website without a strategy. Do you have blogs already written? Do you have thought leadership in place? Do you want to explore the influencer marketing and the relationship marketing? What are you actually doing to push out your content? Are you going to do just paid ads? There are so many people right now that think that marketing is putting up a pretty social media graphic and just thinking that, boom, everybody's going to apply now. Everybody's going to want to work with you. It doesn't work like that. You have to have your bite-sized learning, your small video pieces, and getting them back to your website and the website easy to read where they know exactly where to click. Am I a job seeker or am I a client? Like, am I looking for help placing people in these roles or am I looking for a job? And they have to know right away. And that's where, I mean, like, I love chatbots for that reason, you know, coming up like, hi, welcome to Clear Edge. How can we help you? We don't have a chatbot because we're still people, even though, you know, I mean, we push all of this, but we're still people. But with a chatbot that can just quickly answer your questions. But a lot of the times, what I like is if you're shopping for something, I mean, we're such an on-demand generation that if you're shopping for something, if you're even looking for a new job and you have that question answered for you immediately, because we are all, we are now transforming from iPad kids to iPad adults, and we are all guilty of, like, the screen is in front of my face, it's mobile, it's right here, right now, I want this. When I want to listen to your podcast, when I want to find something, I don't want to have to go dig for it. If you give me more than 2 clicks, I'm out. So if you're thinking about your own website and you're like, gosh, we haven't updated it in 10 years, but it's fine. It's not fine. It could literally be generating leads for you with the right strategy, but we have to know what your end goal is. Anytime, I mean, just like you hosting this podcast, you're doing a beautiful job of just letting me rant and rave and talk about all the things, which, I mean, absolutely, if you're with the right marketing agency, that's what they're going to do. They want to solve your problems. We want to hear what's going on in your world and how we can help you. And if we can't help you, let's figure out another way.
Hey guys, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And also make sure to hit that little bell so you know when the next video drops. So you also mentioned a few times this thing called influencer marketing. Mm-hmm. What is influencer marketing in recruiting and how does it actually translate to placements?
I mean, let's bring up the Kardashians. Like, they could literally be like, hey, you should probably go to Clear Edge. And suddenly everybody would be like, I'd like to go to ClearEdge. That's influencer marketing. What you do, Benjamin Mina, you, Joel Lalge, Richard Rosner, you guys are all influencer marketers without even recognizing that you are. You're showing up in the space. You're giving us information that we need. Plus, you're adding entertainment. Those are influencer marketing.
How do you do that within a niche that you're in so it's turning into clients?
I'll take my own. For example, I used to do Talent Tuesday. I would literally go live on Facebook every Tuesday, and I had groups started. I was in all the sell and swaps in our current area. I mean, again, this was 6 years ago, but it's still to this day. So your sell and swaps are like your new Craigslist. And for anybody that's from me and we're from the 90s, like that used to be a thing. But that's like where people are going to just waste time. So as an influencer marketer, that is how I went to find either more candidates or even to get more clients to sign up with us. Was Talent Tuesday. I would talk about for the candidate search. If I'm a recruiter, I would do Talent Tuesday. I had a whole thing. We had Promotional Monday, Talent Tuesday, Education Wednesdays, Thrive With Me Thursday, and Fun at Work Friday. For Talent Tuesday, I would go on camera and I would show them where they're going to park to walk in to apply for the job. Or I would go live and literally show them on my computer, here's how you apply for this job. Or I would just quickly do a tutorial on how to do that. But really, it's just showing up on camera, showing that I'm a real person. So when you walk in and apply, you're going to see me. And I would get that all the time where they'd be like, whoa, you really wear this lipstick like in real life. I'm like, yeah, it's not just for the show, but
okay. So you went
like
and
that
actually,
and like showing like what people wear to work, like what to expect on your first day. And that is really trending right now. So if you have staffing companies that are logging in and listening to this podcast, that is huge of what to expect in the day of a life of an assembly operator, what to expect in the day of if you work in finance, what to expect in a day of, you know, being in sales and marketing. Like I start my day literally looking at everything, all of the things.
So you were at your desk, your recruiting desk, you're looking at ways to get more clients, ways to get more candidates, and you started Talent Tuesday where you just went live, almost like a pre-podcast.
Yes. And people thought I was crazy.
I'm sure your coworkers probably thought you were crazy, but it turned into business.
Oh, I still have really great videos where they'd be like, she's on again. Like covering their face and like, are you live? But that's exactly it. And you know what, Benjamin, you're going to laugh though. I started to get this because one of my biggest pet peeves is my inbox was constantly filled on Facebook with MLMs trying to get me to sell their makeup, trying to get me to sell whatever shakes are really popular right now. But I started to watch the really good ones and I was like, hold on. We can do the exact same thing with recruiting. Like they are essentially recruiters at the end of the day. Like what they're doing, and which is, I think is absolutely brilliant right now because now all those MLMs that were crushing it before, now they're all rebranding themselves as digital marketers.
I've seen that.
Yes.
That's a whole other story.
Right? Like I can't get enough of it where I'm like, oh, okay, well, you were just selling me health shakes last week, but all right, you're a digital marketer. But they truly are. And they're doing a great job of what relationship marketing is not, is adding people on your Facebooks, on your Instagrams, and making these weird conversations with them. Hey, how is it going? How was your fourth? When you don't already have that connection, because everybody's already onto your game. That was like the old way of trying to do it. That is not what's working today. But when you start interacting and enjoying their content and actually start building a relationship, it's way different.
Like, how do you do that on LinkedIn? Like, we make the connection request, we start doing some content, and then, you know, I mean, there's so many other recruiters hitting these same people up. How do you like get that approach to be different rather than the, hey, it's the 4th of July, how are you? And they're like, who are you?
But, oh, Benjamin, I tell you what, as a true marketer to my soul, I'm constantly A/B testing where I don't have the right answer for you because us as a society, we are so inundated, like I said in the beginning, with information and with people trying to connect with us online that I think that is one of like the trickiest questions to answer. Because same thing with you. When I came into your inbox, I was like, oh, he's probably going to think that I'm just way out of line. Or because I mean, like after listening to your podcast, after seeing you on different stages and settings, I was kind of fangirling out. And I probably even wrote that in my message. Like, I really want to meet you, but like, I don't want to come off like weird because I want you to know like, like, I'm one of you. Like, I'm normal. But as a recruiter, like, how do you do that? And really it is knowing your roles and what your jobs have to offer the best. I mean, truly the product, the people, the process. Knowing your product the best can help you improvise later and literally start those conversations to say, hey, I don't know if this applies to you, but I have this role open that I think you might be great for. And I mean, you can literally just start it off soft like that. You don't have to full out come and say, these are the benefits, because I've tried it every which way. Because I have been that person. And honestly, going and making a video of talking about them. I mean, TikTok has a beautiful option of having the actual job behind you, and you can talk all about it to say, hey, you know, I've got an civil engineer role open. This is what we're looking for.
What if you don't feel comfortable on camera and you don't feel like cutting a video? There's some other things that you want to do. And it's kind of funny saying this for the listeners. Like, there are times where I try cutting a video and I'm on like try number 17 and I just say, screw it. What other ways can we, like, if you don't want to be on camera?
You want to keep your information short and sweet. This is where I'm going to tell you to use your ChatGPT. Take your job, throw it into ChatGPT and tell them, act as a recruiter, rewrite this in 90 words or less with bullets of literally what the job entails. Copy and paste that, throw that right into a LinkedIn message, and do the 20-10-5 model. I'm going to call out Hoxo Academy. They taught me this probably 4 years ago. 20-10-5. You're going to connect with 20 people a day. You're going to like and you're going to comment on 10 different posts. You're going to like them. You're going to comment on them. You're not going to say commenting for better reach. I get that. I understand that when it comes to open for work. I really appreciate that. But when it comes to somebody like you asking a really relevant question of where are these magical ATS systems and their AI, I'm not just going to go in there and saying commenting for my network. Like, that is just, I mean, that's just waving and saying, you know, waving as you're driving by, not stopping in and having a conversation. And so literally 10 times, this is every single day for only 15 minutes, you're going to schedule that on your calendar. 20 different connections of people that you want to connect with. That doesn't mean send them a message right away. Just send them a blank connect. No messages. The 10 likes and comments. Go through, read what your audience is saying. If you already built that connection and you know you really want to get Benjamin on your team, go back and look at his content and start commenting on it. It doesn't have to be every day because it will come off creepy. So make sure that you're like, you know, floating around and make sure that you're not commenting on everybody. And then your 5 DMs, those are where you've taken your 90 words or less DM and thrown it into their LinkedIn, or also send them just a 90-word email. And I'm going to call out Keith Wayman too, because I love to just name drop people that I love in the industry. So Keith Wayman, he does, with Bullhorn, he does a beautiful whiteboarding. And his strategy right now is just to do 1-word emails. Like, only put what the email is about. Pipeline, for example. Everybody's talking about pipeline because everybody wants a bigger pipeline. Pipeline means all of the people that are coming in for clients interested in you, candidates applying with you. But really keeping it at 90 words because, as I said before, we've got one thumb width to get somebody's attention and they're out. And people don't read. This day and age, I'm sorry, but they don't. If you have huge paragraphs, if you have too many words, you're going to give that person anxiety and they're going to go on. All
right. So just for this, was it the 10, 20, whatever it was?
20-10-5?
20-10-5. You're not connecting with other recruiters. You're connecting with people in your space, right?
Yes. Yep. And if recruiters are who I'm after, that's who I'm going to connect with. Yep. And right now, I mean, to be open and honest, I'm after your CROs. I'm after your salespeople. I'm after your marketing people, because those are the people that I want to connect with, that I want to say, let's talk about marketing. Let's talk about how we can fill your pipeline even faster. Let's talk about your website converting. Let's talk about lead generation.
I got one last question before we jump over to the quickfire questions. And I know we talked about MLMs and digital marketing. I feel like that's completely separate digital marketing, you know, buying a course, whatever. But when it comes to digital marketing, is it different for a staffing company, different for a contingency recruiting firm, and also different for an executive search firm?
And I'm going to answer you with, it all depends on what their goal is. We at ClearEdge would never be cookie cutter. I couldn't say, this is what we've done for every single contingent. This is what we've done for every single temp. This is what we've done for every single gig. It would all depend on what their end goal was. And essentially, at the end of the day, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say it's not going to be completely different. Like, marketing is still building your brand, knowing who you are before you have to call and sell yourself.
What is, like, we've talked about like influencer marketing, relationship marketing. Is there any other types of like digital marketing that's just absolutely crushing it right now?
Video, user-generated content. So if, let's say, if you keep talking to the same candidates that are saying no because of XYZ, turn that into a blog post. Turn that into how you're solving for them. Use your case studies. And again, if you can do video, or even if you can do the podcast where, I mean, you've nailed it, where you've got like the audio in the letters right in front of you. So when I'm just quick scrolling, it's randomly catching my attention. That is what's really crushing it right now.
Awesome. Awesome. Before we jump over to the quick fire questions, is there anything else that you want to share about like your story, making the career change, but still staying in the staffing and the recruiting world, or anything that we've covered?
No, I think you've covered it all, but I'm just really excited that you have this space, that you are being consistent and showing up and giving people new stories of ways that they can grow and ways that they can grow their own careers.
Well, thank you. I think it's also part of pure craziness sometimes.
That's the magic. We all, if you love the staffing industry, there is that boldness, that innovation, that need to just like, what else is out there?
So quick fire questions. And this is going to like kind of you've done coaching recruiters, you've been a recruiter yourself, you're on the marketing side of recruiting. So it'd be interesting to really hear your answers on this. But if there's a recruiter that's just getting started out, they're brand new to this industry this year in 2024, what advice would you give them to win?
What advice as a recruiter, brand new? I would say, be bold. Don't be afraid. Everybody moves at the speed of light. So really, like, if let's say you put out a post and you're like having anxiety over what it says or how it's written or anything like that, don't get so inundated with your thoughts. And if you are not using LinkedIn, get on there. Use LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Use all the social media platforms as a recruiter. But LinkedIn for sure is going to be your honeypot. My best advice, honestly, and this is how I learn, is I like to imitate before I innovate. So start networking and start searching for recruiters that you really enjoy, and start listening to the podcasts like the Elite Recruiter podcast, because you will get more knowledge nuggets than you even knew that you needed. And I mean, like, I had started it where I was listening to Gary Vee and Simon Sinek and Barry Waymiller. Those are the podcasts that I had first started with when I was traveling all around doing recruiting. And still to this day, I will put on Gary Vee when I need a pump up moment, when I need like my ego just to be like exploding before a call. And don't get so caught up in your own thoughts. And just, again, your biggest competition is time. As a recruiter, it is time. Everybody is looking for that job. Everybody wants that connection, and you've got to be connecting with them and follow up. If they applied with you last year and they didn't take that job, follow up with them. See where they're at. See if they're happy in their current role, or if you can help them find their next role. Absolutely
awesome. Same question though, but for people that have been around the block, 5, 10, 25 years, what would you say to them?
Share your knowledge. They are a wealth of knowledge, from the way that they did it old school when they started off in AS400 and had to print out timesheets, to, you know, like everything on file, to today. They have got to share their knowledge, because recruiting and staffing is cyclical. And what we're going through right now isn't anything different than recruiters went through in 2008. Things that recruiters went through in 2002. I mean, like, we have seen this time and time again, and it will come back around. If you're feeling like, oh, staffing is so, like, it's so hard right now, or nobody's buying, or, you know, like, my job is getting harder and harder, it will come back around. So just keep educating yourself. And if you have been in the industry for 5, 10, 20 years, share your knowledge, network yourself out, get on podcasts. We need your knowledge.
You've actually probably mentioned this a few times about a book that's had a huge impact on your career. Recap it, but has there been any other ones that have also played a huge part?
Yes, I'll always call out 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and I would be a complete miss if I didn't call out Together We Rise with the lady leaders. You've got Leslie Vickery, Joyce Russell, Joni Biley, I mean, just Kelly Boykin, Erica Hyson, Ursula Williamson. I mean, you've just got the best names in the industry wrote a book. They literally gave us a playbook on how to make magic, how to change your career. And for anybody listening, if they don't already have it, there it is right there. Bam! Together We Rise.
Awesome.
It's great insight into the industry, and especially nothing against the men, but I mean, 2024 is kind of year of the woman. So, I mean, it's all about rising up each other and how do we get to that next level? How do we get more women in the C-suite? How do we, and it's not only about women, it's about leadership empowerment and getting out of your own thoughts and knowing like your story or where you came from is not where you stay.
I love that you said that it's 2024 is the year of the woman. We have the Recruiting Growth Summit later on this year up in September. And a bunch of female leaders are talking. But I just had 2 interviews with 2 guests that just absolutely crushed it at the very beginning of their recruiting business. And I'm bringing them on as like panels. So it's just, 2 amazing female CEOs in the recruiting space to do a panel of like, hey, how you get started right in the game. So that's awesome.
And that's what we need. You just had Andrea on your show not too long ago. And like when she talks about that, she's like, I got fired. And then I went and started my own. I think it was her who said that. But I mean, like when you hear those stories of people saying like, I can do this. And another thing to call out too with, I mean, regardless of gender, I'm one of them that I don't have anybody in my family. I'm a first generation corporate America person. But, so I don't have that person to say, if you're in a board meeting, like, what do you say? Or if you're meeting with this kind of executive, like, how do you present yourself? And the Lady Leaders Book Club, Together We Rise, or Clear Edge Rising, we have that opportunity for you to sit in those spaces, to get that kind of coaching, to ask those questions that you're afraid to ask, and you don't have somebody in your family that you can ask those questions to.
Awesome.
Oh, let me call it ASA too. They also have a mentor match program.
Oh, awesome. And when it comes to your own personal career, your own story, like you've kind of had some opportunities that have popped up that you've created for yourself without knowing that you created yourself. But like, I'm sure you've had plenty of hard days where this is tough. What do you think has been a driver for you on why you have been successful?
You know what? That is one of the hardest questions I think I've ever been asked, Benjamin. You could have at least queued it up a little bit more. I could start crying right now. On my darkest days, what keeps me going, or like what has been my biggest motivator is, I mean, all of us in the staffing industry, the ones that love it, the ones that have been in it long, I mean, we're just kind of born with that fire, that what's next. And I don't think that I was made to just play soft or play quiet or, just have one job that I just do repetitively for the rest of my life. To say what it is that keeps me going is being a mom. I want to show up and show my kid, like, this is the world and you can make it what you want it to be. Like, it doesn't matter what I think you should do. It doesn't matter what my parents thought I should do. Like, I'm a middle child only girl. I've kind of, I've had this safe space as well. I've had really great leaders. Let me call that out. I've had really great leaders that have given me that platform to safely fail fast and to give me the feedback and to help me get where I need to be. It has been not only family encouraging me, like, yeah, go do what you do, to having amazing leaders at all companies that I've worked for that have literally given me the wings to be like, go see what kind of magic you can make. And that is truly what the heart of staffing is. Who do you want to be and how do you want to help people get there?
You've went through a massive career change, so you kind of like self-open those doors. What advice would you give to somebody that's looking at staying in the recruiting world, but maybe wants to make a change into something else, but still in the recruiting world?
Oh gosh, I hate when people leave the recruiting world. I hate when people leave staffing, where I'm like, stay in the industry. If you're a recruiter, you can be an account manager. You can be in sales. You can be in marketing. You can be a project manager. You don't have to just stay there. So start networking within your company and start networking outside of the company. There are so many great people. Like I said, the American Staffing Association has the Mentor Match program, where if you are interested in something and you're like, I want to know more about that, go fill out their form and they will connect you with somebody in that space that will help you get there. Ask questions. And I mean, if you're listening to this podcast right now, I'm going to open up the door and say, Benjamin and I Would love to answer your questions. Drop us both a LinkedIn message and ask what the questions are. If I'm a recruiter today and I want to be CEO tomorrow, how do I get there? And I'll call out Danielle Byfuglien. When she was mentoring me at EmployBridge, I actually said that to her. I said, will you be my mentor? She was like, sure. And she said, well, what do you want to do with your career? And I'm like, I want to be the CEO. And she was like, okay, let's figure out how to get you there. But she didn't put me down. She didn't look at me like, why do you want to do that? She was instantly like, perfect. Let's figure out ways to get you there. And those are the best coaches to have and the best mentors. And the staffing industry is all about helping people get to that next level.
The ASA thing that you mentioned about, is that open for anybody that's a recruiter, or is that only people that own a staffing firm?
I believe it's open to anybody. We should actually get Diana on here. She'd be a great one to answer those questions for you. But as far as I know, it is, if you are a recruiter, if you work for a staffing agency, if you are in the staffing space, I think you can go and apply for it and they will match you with the right mentor. But I'm not an expert on it, so I can't really give it the real thoughts there.
Once again, looking back at your career, with everything that you know now, like the lessons you've learned, layoffs, getting new jobs, networking yourself into new opportunities, if you had the chance to sit down with yourself at the very beginning of your recruiting career, what advice would you give yourself?
Advice I would give to Danielle just starting out. I know my whole spiel has been on everybody is helping out everybody and everybody wants to see you succeed. You have to advocate for yourself first. You have to be the one to say, this is what I want to do. How do I get there? Or if I'm not connecting the dots, how do I get there? It's advocate for yourself. That's what I would tell myself if I was just getting into it. Advocate for yourself. I've been very lucky, I think, in my roles and I've been very loud. So it's probably like, all right, we'll just let her in because she keeps knocking on the door. So just let her in. But it's advocating for yourself to say, hey, I want a seat at that table. I want to know how to get there. That doesn't mean be pushy and demand. That just means advocate to say, this is what I want to do. How do I get there? And most companies have performance management going on right now where you're looking at your SMART goals. You're looking at what you did last year and what you're going to do next year. It's not about just KPIs and filling orders. It is about where you want to grow in your own staffing career, and it's advocating for yourself.
You chose advocating for yourself. Was there a time when you didn't, and how did that change?
Yes, that's where I say, when I look back at when I was first starting, I thought I had hit the top. I thought that I couldn't go anywhere else because of where I was located. But with, my I won't call it delusional. I'll call it my very optimistic thinking. I was like, we're all sitting on our phones. We all are on the internet all the time. Why can't I go bigger and more and keep pushing those boundaries and keep connecting with people way outside of my organization? I mean, add Gary Vaynerchuk on LinkedIn, to add people that I feel like are out of my space, but at the end of the day, to understand that they're a real person. So to get yourself in that space, but getting back to not advocating for yourself, I very much am I don't want to rock the boat either. So maybe I just won't say anything, where looking back, there were multiple times where I'm I should have. And I don't want to be the shoulda, coulda. I want to be, I did this and here's what happened. And like I said, I've had great leaders that when I was a little bit too bold, pulled me back and just said, hey, let me give you some feedback on why you don't text somebody like that. Oh, my bad. But very, very kind. And those kind of leaders, as a new recruiter, you could, we're so ego driven too, that I feel like some of us might feel almost like a personal attack, but those leaders that can come in and give you good feedback and literally help your whole career. It can change everything as long as you're willing to listen and they're giving you the right feedback. If we've got leaders right now saying, I've got people on my team that I need to give feedback to, but I don't want to hurt their feelings or I don't know how to say it, call me. Clear Edge Rising has the workshop you need for feedback. We can help you through this. Look at that. Just got salesy right off the bat.
Well, before I let you go, if any of the listeners want to follow you, how do they go about doing that?
You can find me on LinkedIn. Actually, all of my social medias are completely open to the public. So you can literally go on anything from Threads to LinkedIn to Facebook to Instagram, and you're going to find me, even TikTok. Danielle Byfuglien is my handle, and it's DanielleByfuglien. Byfuglien, just like it's spelled. Not anything close to it.
And before I let you go, is there anything else you want to share with the listeners?
I just want everybody to make it a great rest of your 2024. I know it has been a really rough year. And just like I said a few minutes ago, that it is cyclical and it is going to come back around. Once the election season is done, we are going to be just hitting the ground hard, and businesses are buying again. So if you need to get your marketing in shape before it's too late, before your competitors are ahead of you, drop me a note. Let's start that conversation.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Like I said, like over the years, I've even thought about what else can I do outside of like sitting in the recruiting chair. I've had people come to me asking the same thing. Like, I love the space. I love the helping people, but I want to do something a little different. I love that you shared that there's options. I love that you shared that there's
so
like,
many.
But it's just when you're sitting in that chair, you don't see those.
No. And honestly, because I was affected by a huge layoff this last year. And I didn't share that at all on the podcast right now. But I was basically like the Wolf of Wall Street. And I grabbed the mic and I was like, I'm not leaving. Like, I love the staffing space, whether you are working for a staffing company or for a vendor. There are so many options out there. And if you're listening to this and you're feeling lost in the process, you are just, as Gary Vaynerchuk says, you're just ahead of it. You're not lost in the process. You're just early in the process, and it will catch up and everything will make sense eventually. But if you're like, here's my skill set, here's where I want to go, connect with us. We'd love to help you navigate this. And also, I'm going to call out Me Derby. They are another great company that helps staffing people navigate their careers. If they have went through a layoff, or if they are just not loving their role currently, reach out to Me Derby, and Robin and the crew there can help you find your next role.
Well, awesome so much. And man, like I said, super excited that I had you on, sharing things that could be absolutely life-changing. But like you just said a few seconds ago, we want to see you win. I want 2024 to be your best year yet. So keep crushing it, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks, Benjamin.